Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis hit third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the San Francisco Giants in the second game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Giants, right-hander Mason Black, and for the Padres, San Diego's own right-hander Joe Musgrove. Hi again, everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 6:05 p.m. in San Francisco. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We hear from new Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge, who made his major league debut in last night's win. And in just a little bit, we check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today 83 and 65. They entered today sitting in the National League's first wild card spot, a half game ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Padres also just 4.5 games back of the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. Meanwhile, the Giants entered today 72 and 75. Giants have lost 13 of their last 20 games. It continues to be a very tight race in the National League wild card. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on. It was a nice, clean win for the Padres last night in San Francisco.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
A great starting pitching matchup last night. Logan Webb against Dylan Cease. Webb took the mound for the top of the first inning. The Padres were on him early. Luis Arraez hit a leadoff single. Fernando Tatis Jr. was next.
Against him that night. Now Fernando sends one in the air, straightaway center and deep. This one gonna go! Fernando homers in a third consecutive game. And the Padres take a 2-0 lead before they record an out in the top of the first.
Well, Jesse, it's big boy time on the calendar.
Padres weren't done. Manny Machado hit a 1-out single. He went to second on a wild pitch. He was still on second base with 2 men away for Xander Bogaerts.
Beautiful setting as always, the 0-1, and Xander hits it in the air towards right center field, trying to find the gap. Yastrzemski on the move, not going to get there. It bounces and rolls. Yastrzemski picks it up off the warning track. That'll hold Bogaerts to a double, but it's an RBI double as Manny scores, and the Padre lead is 3-0.
More loud noises off the Padre bats here in the first.
Dylan Cease started his night with 3 scoreless innings. Jackson Merrill hit a 1-out double in the top of the 4th inning against Webb. Merrill was still on second base with 2 outs. Elias Diaz at the plate.
Merrill leading at second base. Here's the pitch to Diaz. Little topper out in front of the plate. It'll be picked up by Webb with the bare hand. And he throws high over the head of Wade down the right field line. Merrill will score Diaz into second, and just an absolutely miserable throwing error committed by Logan Webb.
That made it a 4-0 game. Cease went 6 scoreless innings. He struck out 10. Tanner Scott pitched a 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th inning. Jason Adam did the same in the 8th. In the top of the 9th inning, the Padres got some insurance. Jurickson Profar hit a 2-out single. Brandon Lockridge pinch ran. He stole second in his major league debut. That set the table for Manny Machado.
And on 3-2, Manny swings, hits it in the air to center field and deep. McRae is back at the wall, tries to make the catch, hits over his head off the wall. Machado into second as Lockridge scores, an RBI double, and a 5-0 Padre lead.
A little insurance for your boys. Manny Machado playing pepper with the center field wall.
Jeremiah Estrada pitched a 1-2-3 bottom half of the ninth inning, and that was that. The Padres bullpen was perfect last night, 9 up and 9 set aside. Final score in the series opener in San Francisco, the Padres 5 and the Giants nothing, and now the Padres looking for a second consecutive win against the Giants. Let's go up to Northern California.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Tony, let's begin with a look at the lineup here tonight for the Padres. There was a pretty noticeable change in the lineup. Jackson Merrill in center field once again, but batting fifth today. Jake Cronenworth moved down to the number 7 spot, so let's start there tonight. Cronenworth hasn't swung the bat great lately. Merrill had 3 hits last night. What do you feel like the reasoning might be to get Jackson a little bit higher in the batting order for this one?
I think it's less about Jackson, really, or Jake. It's just about how you can make the lineup more potent and make it a little bit deeper. And, by moving Jackson up, who swung the bat well here really all season, but particularly last couple of games, you get a little bit more punch in that 5-hole spot. And so this is just another way you're trying to maximize the best lineup you can put forward.
Interesting outing here tonight for Joe Musgrove. He faces the Giants for a second straight start, and that was just a weird outing on Sunday at Petco Park against this Giants lineup. He retires the first 10 in a row. Then he gives up 7 consecutive hits, including the 3 home runs to Chapman, Encarnacion, and Matos. Tony, what did you make of that last start for Joe, and how does he bounce back here tonight?
What I made of it was Joe rolled through that first time through by really throwing the ball where he wanted to. And then the inning that it kind of blew up on him, he was throwing the ball, in spots where, a lot of big league hitters are going to do damage. And so I think for Joe, it's just more about finding the command and the location and where he wants to throw it. Because when he was doing that, he was unhittable, literally unhittable. So that's what I look forward to from him tonight.
Yeah, and important to note that before that one inning, he came into that start a 1.30 ERA in his first 5 starts since returning from the IL. So the early portion of that game really was much like what we've seen since he's come off the IL. Just really a span of 7 batters there where things went very differently. Let's talk about Fernando Tatis Jr., a home run in each of the last 3 games. Tony, I thought the home run yesterday, really the first 2 at-bats of yesterday's game between Arise getting on base and then Tatis hitting the home run. That kind of set the tone for the entire night. What have you seen from Fernando over the last handful of days?
I see a guy who is still working himself back into rhythm, but also a guy that understands the moment that's in front of him. I don't think it's a coincidence that as the schedule is tightened, you're seeing when he gets a hit, it's usually a big one. The 2 homers or 3 homers in 3 consecutive days for him. I don't think that's a coincidence. That's a guy recognizing where we are, and although he's not giving you multi-hits, he's giving you a big one in a lot of these. So I just like where the Padres are at. With Luis at the top pretty much setting the tone on a nightly basis, you got Fernando behind it, and then it just keeps coming at you. And I think that's really more about what the move that Mike Shildt made today in terms of adjusting the lineup is more about that than it is anything else.
Let's talk a little bit more about Luis Arise, because this most recent stretch, he's in the midst of an 11-game hitting streak. The batting average for the season is now up to .320. He has 3 hits in 4 out of his last 5 games. Tony, I know he's always impressive. The bat-to-ball skills are absolutely elite. But in particular, this last week or 2, what are you seeing from Luis Arise?
The pitches that he's getting to hit, he's not missing them right now. And his swing is such that, when Luis isn't going good, he's still getting his hits, but he has a lot of fly balls. We're seeing less of that. The outs are on the ground, at least on a line, and that's when he's dialed in. And so, I would just encourage people to enjoy the show because you won't probably get another guy that can do what he does in the way that he does it.
Yeah, it is very, very fun to watch. And again, yesterday, a Rise leadoff single, Tatis home run. Just like that, the Padres had a 2-0 lead, and they really never looked back from there. We'll see if they can do something similar here tonight against right-hander Mason Black on the mound for San Francisco. We'll have more on him coming up a little bit later in our pregame coverage. Tony, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 5:55 up at Oracle Park in San Francisco. Thanks so much.
Take care, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. Again, we go out to Jesse and Tony at 5:55. First pitch for Game 2 of this 3-game series coming up at 6:05. As always, if you want to chime in on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well. Sammy Lev there too. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. If you have a key to today's game, let me know what it is. May just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later on. And if you want to chime in on our various video streams, including on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel, you can do that as well. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We get a little insight as to why Jackson Merrill was moved up to the number 5 spot today. Jake Cronenworth moved down to the number 7 spot in the lineup. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just interesting to look at the lineup here today. Plus, we hear the latest on Ha-Seong Kim, what he was up to today, and so what the outlook may look like for Kim moving forward. Plus, a little bit later, we hear from Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge. Did a nice job in his major league debut yesterday. Pinch ran, stole a base, scored a run in the 9th inning. So we hear from Lockridge for the very first time here on the pregame coverage a little bit later as well. First pitch at 6:05 in San Francisco. We're back after this on the Padres Radio Network. Back here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios on a beautiful Saturday here in America's finest city. Hope you had a great Saturday. Whatever you were up to, now we're settling in for Padres baseball on this Saturday evening. Padres going for a second consecutive win in San Francisco. Padres already have got a little help today in the wild card race. We'll tell you more about that coming up during the out-of-town scoreboard, other results that are going on right now, and so we'll get to all that in the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on. We'll also have who's hot, who's not in just a few minutes, and a little bit later we hear from new Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Well, like we talked about with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our opening segment, just a slight adjustment to the Padres lineup today. Top of the lineup looks the same, Arise, Tatis, Profar, and Machado, but then Jackson Merrill moved up to the number 5 spot here tonight. Then Xander Bogaerts batting 6th. Jake Cronenworth moved down to the number 7 spot. Then it's Solano and Higashioka rounding out the starting 9 in the lineup today for the Padres with right-hander Joe Musgrove on the mound. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today on Jackson Merrill being moved up in the lineup.
He's done great. I mean, listen, it's a long lineup, so, we can put him pretty much anywhere and feel pretty good about it. He hit 6 for a long time, just really moved him up kind of one spot. He's been hitting 7th more recently, but, it seems like a good spot for him in the 5th. The good news is that really out of our first 8, they've all hit in the top 4, for periods of time. So it's a long lineup. We got Solano hitting 8th, so that tells you everything you need to know, and Jackson getting the opportunity to hit 5th today.
When the lineup is as long as it is, does it almost matter less because guys are getting RBI opportunities almost wherever they are?
It does for me. There's a lot of different ways you can think about it. But, yeah, we got guys that the whole lineup, there's opportunities across the board because it's a deep lineup and guys are going to be on board, and we got guys in a lot of good places.
So that was Mike Shildt on the lineup. A very deep lineup indeed for the Padres. Did well last night, 5 runs on 12 hits en route to a 5-0 win. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today. The latest update on Ha-Sung Kim, who continues to be on the IL with that shoulder injury. Here's what Mike had to say about Kim.
He played a light catch today. We're still easing him back into the catch. He said, I talked to him just before we came out, didn't have a lot of intensity in his throwing, but didn't feel anything, even though it was light, so that's clearly a positive. So we'll just continue to monitor it.
You see where you are in the calendar. Do you think there's still a chance it comes back before you have the regular?
Clearly we're days are going by, so we're optimistic, but not blind optimists. He's going to play catch a little more aggressively as the beginning of the week, and then we'll go from there.
Would second base possibly be a consideration for him?
I couldn't rule it out, but for me, really, with relays and being able to turn and pivots, and there's a lot of arms, a lot of stress on the arm for making a double play feed, because you're depending on the feed, you're basically throwing it flat-footed, so it's a lot of arm strength. So I think really if he's able to come back, he should be able to come back and play shortstop, but again, everything's always on the table.
Is he offensively, is he just able to swing?
He's able to swing. Yeah, he's able to swing.
How does he kind of keep that up while building up?
Yeah, he's been able to get his swings in, and we've pulled back a little bit on his volume of swings just to make sure we're giving him rest, but swinging in the last couple of weeks has not been an issue for him.
With Bogaerts back at short, he told me it's like riding a bike, Don't forget it. Is that what you've seen, the eye test?
Yeah, absolutely. He looks very comfortable there, and clearly he is. So he's moved right over there, been a good teammate, and done well.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt. The latest update on Ha-Sung Kim. Again, we'll see what the updates are in the days to come on Kim. It still sounds like it's going to be at least a while until he's back. Who knows if he's going to be back in the regular season. So, again, Xander Bogaerts back at shortstop today for the Padres, and we'll continue to provide updates on Kim when we have them. First pitch coming up at 6:05 in San Francisco. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
which player is locked in at the dish, who needs to kick things up another notch. This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We begin with a look at the hot category. Luis Arraez certainly in that category for the Padres right now. He is in the midst of an 11-game hitting streak, collected 3 hits in 4 out of the last 5 games. Arraez has now gone 129 consecutive plate appearances without recording a strikeout, the longest streak since Juan Pierre went 147 plate appearances without a strikeout in 2004. Arraez leads the NL right now with a .320 batting average. Manny Machado in the hot category for the Padres as well, batting .329 with 10 extra base hits, 21 RBIs in his last 17 games. Jurickson Profar in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. He's batting over .300 in that span. And Fernando Tatis Jr., we move him into the hot category today. He's hit a home run in 3 consecutive games. More on Fernando coming up a little bit later on. In the not category, Jake Cronenworth 0 for 10 in his last 3 games. Again, Cronenworth batting 7th here tonight. And available off the bench today, David Peralta not swinging the bat great as of late, just 2 for his last 18. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series. When we come back, we take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Padres already have got a little help as far as the wild card race earlier today. A couple of other games we want to keep a very close eye on. Plus, we hear from new Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge as well. A little bit later, a deeper look at our pitching matchup between Joe Musgrove and Mason Black. Much more to do in our pregame coverage. First pitch coming up at 6:05 on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 6:05 in San Francisco. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Giants. Padres winning last night 5-0, and now they send San Diego's own right-hander Joe Musgrove to the hill on this Saturday evening. A lot to do before first pitch. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. Our keys to the game, and we'll hear from new Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge a little bit later as well. Before we update you on a key Giant not in the lineup here tonight, I talked about this yesterday. I do want to remind you about it once again here today. A big congratulations to the Lake Elsinore Storm, Padres Single A affiliate. They are moving on to the California League Championship Series. They begin that series tomorrow up in Lake Elsinore. Game 1 of that series tomorrow, then a day off Monday. Then they finish that series, Game 2, and then a potential Game 3 in Modesto against the Modesto Nuts on Tuesday and Wednesday, Game 2, and then a potential Game 3. The other reason I bring it up, not just to congratulate a Padres affiliate, which is great, good for them, a chance now to win a second consecutive California League championship. For our listeners that are up in the Lake Elsinore area, even for listeners down here in San Diego, the Storm are doing a really, really good thing tomorrow. That area up in Lake Elsinore and throughout Southern California right now, very much affected by some wildfires right now. Really, really terrible stuff. A lot of wildfires. The community there enduring a widespread evacuation. So the Storm are allowing the first 3,000 fans to get in free tomorrow, and the first 500 hot dogs will be free as well. So if you're in that area or if you're here in San Diego, hey, Padres are out of town. They do play at 1 p.m. tomorrow, but hey, you can go up and watch Game 1 of that series as the Storm take on the Modesto Nuts. And again, the first 3,000 fans get in free to the Diamond in Lake Elsinore tomorrow. So wanted to bring it up to congratulate the Storm and also acknowledge and tell you about the good work the Storm are doing. Again, those wildfires up in that area, a lot of evacuations, really unfortunate situation. So the Storm trying to do something good for the community up in Lake Elsinore. All right, back to this game between the Padres and the Giants. Let's tell you why the very talented Giants rookie Tyler Fitzgerald is once again out of the lineup here tonight.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, Tyler Fitzgerald, who's had a really good year, hitting .296 on the year and .880 OPS in 84 games. He came out of Thursday's game for San Francisco against the Brewers due to lower back tightness. He had an MRI yesterday. It was a clean MRI, but Fitzgerald out of the starting lineup once again for the Giants. Brett Wisely starting in his place tonight in the San Francisco lineup. And again, Fitzgerald, he's been one of the better rookies in the National League this season. So it's a big loss for the Giants in their starting lineup. We'll see if Fitzgerald is at all available off the bench today, but Tyler Fitzgerald not in the lineup for a second straight game for the Giants. And that's a look at who's in, who's out as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:05. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have a number of games that have gone final already today. The Guardians beat the Rays 6-1 in Cleveland. Phillies beat the Mets 6-4 in Philadelphia. Mets had an early 4-0 lead in that game. Bryce Harper hit a couple of home runs to make it 4-3. And then kind of a journeyman rookie, Cal Stevenson, hit a 2-run double in the bottom half of the 7th inning to make it 5-4. Stevenson then robbed a home run, potential home run off the bat of J.D. Martinez in the top of the 8th inning to keep the Phillies ahead. They went on to win that game 6-4. So the Padres getting a little bit of help in the wild card from the Phillies as the Mets lose earlier today. Nationals beat the Marlins 4-1 in D.C. Juan Yepes a home run in that game for the Nats. The Blue Jays beat the Cardinals 7-2 in Toronto. Royals beat the Pirates 5-1 in Pittsburgh. Red Sox beat the Yankees 7-1 in New York. Yankees had an early 1-0 lead in that game with Garrett Cole on the mound, and you may have seen this on social media or wherever earlier today. Garrett Cole is cruising. He intentionally walked Rafael Devers, who has very good numbers against Cole, with nobody on, and the Yankees ahead 1-0. Not only did Devers score, it would turn into a 3-run inning for the Red Sox, and they scored 7 to beat the Yankees 7-1. Maybe we'll talk about it more post-game. I don't know what that was about. Anyway, Red Sox beat the Yankees 7-1. Games going on right now, including a couple of games that are very important to the Padres right now. Orioles ahead of the Tigers 4-0 in Detroit in the 9th inning. Reds 9, Twins 1 in Minnesota in the 5th inning. White Sox lead the A's 3-0 in Chicago in the 5th inning. So the White Sox aiming for win number 34 on the season. 3-0 over the A's in the 5th inning. Braves lead the Dodgers 4-1 in Atlanta in the 4th inning. A game to keep a very close eye on. Cubs ahead of the Rockies 1-0 in Colorado in the 2nd. Brewers 1, Diamondbacks 0 in the 2nd in Arizona. Another important game to keep an eye on. 2 other games going on tonight that have not started yet. Astros and the Angels at 6:38. Justin Verlander on the mound for Houston tonight. And finally, the Rangers and the Mariners on the mound Rangers and Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. On the mound for the Rangers, right-hander Max Scherzer. And that's a look at the full out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. So again, Mets losing earlier today. Braves right now beating the Dodgers, which in the wild card would not be great news if the Braves win, but in the division would be very good news for the Padres if the Braves win. And again, Brewers ahead of the Diamondbacks early, 1-0 in Arizona. Well, in yesterday's game, a really nice moment for Brandon Lockridge, who made his major league debut when he pinch ran in the top of the 9th inning. Padres already had a 4-0 lead at that point. Lockridge came in, pinch ran. He then stole second base and scored on Manny Machado's RBI double to make it 5-0. Here was Brandon Lockridge earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse talking about his contribution to last night's series opening win.
It was amazing. Yeah, like I said, just to be told in the situation that if Profar gets on there, you go out and run for him. I had a little bit of nerves going at the time, and then the second he got on, it was just like I had blinders on, and I was, I had one job to do, and it was to steal that base. And obviously was super thankful that it worked out and I was safe. And then, for Manny to come up huge and double off the wall in center and score a run, that was incredible. So the whole thing has just been surreal, and I'm just ultra thankful for the opportunity.
Lockridge is somebody with a pretty interesting story. 5th-round pick in 2018 from Troy University in Troy, Alabama, selected by the New York Yankees, begins his professional career in 2018. Then he spends 2018 to most of this season with the Yankees, gets traded at the deadline from the Yankees to the Padres. And look, he's probably not thinking he's going to get traded. He's sitting at AAA at that point. He's an outfielder. He's probably not thinking he's getting traded, right? But he does. Goes to the Padres. That was the trade that sent Enyel De Los Santos back to New York. De Los Santos later designated for assignment. So here is Brandon Lockridge earlier today talking about what's happened since the trade and everything that's gone on for him in his life during the past month and a half or so.
This last month and a half has been, surreal. Things have kind of happened so fast. Obviously super thankful just for the opportunity in general, but, to get to go in there last night and have, officially debut, it was a dream come true. And, it's a great group of guys to do it with. And, I'll never forget these last few days.
Lockridge was called up to the Padres earlier this road trip in Seattle. Here was Lockridge talking about the day he arrived to the Padres after finally being called up.
That whole day was, it felt like a dream because I didn't, I found out very late the night before that I was going up and had an early flight that morning. So truthfully, I didn't sleep that night. So, I got to Seattle, was running on extremely low sleep, straight adrenaline, and, just tried to take it in as best as I could. Had the, nerves going a little bit. But like I said, everybody was so welcoming. It really made the transition over here really easy. So.
And Lockridge does have a skill set that is valuable, has a lot of speed, plays good defense, can play in the outfield. He's now in the major leagues. Here was Brandon Lockridge earlier today on what he can do to stay in the major leagues.
Yeah, I've always heard that, the easiest thing to do is to make it, which, I would have argued against that because I've been working towards this for a long time, but absolutely I would love to stay. I think, not trying to do too much from the talks we've had, what got me here can keep me here if I can continue to, do the job that I'm asked to do. And, there's some different areas, offensively, defensively on the base pass. And I think I just got to focus and do what I can to take the most out of every situation I can get to help the team win. And, wherever the plan is for me, I'll embrace it and, enjoy every second of it.
That was new Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge, who made his major league debut last night. The pinch run appearance, stole a base, scored a run. Hey, if he can do things like that to help the Padres win games, may just stick around. Very, very nice debut for Brandon Lockridge yesterday. We'll see if he comes off the bench at all in tonight's game. First pitch coming up at 6:05 for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Let's give you tonight's keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
A lot to get to here. Key number 1, keep this Giants offense quiet. The Giants are averaging just 3.8 runs per game in their last 20 games. The Giants were shut out last night on just 4 hits. So don't let this offense get it going if you're Joe Musgrove and if you're the Padres bullpen. And one way the Padres can do that brings us to key number 2 and also key number 3 as well. Key number 2 first. Control Conforto. Michael Conforto has been really good against the Padres this season. 10 games against the Padres. He's hitting .333 with 7 extra base hits, 3 home runs, and 7 RBI. Michael Conforto back in left field for the Giants tonight, batting third. He did not play yesterday. And also it brings us to key number 3. Keep Chapman in check. Matt Chapman went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts last night. Entering yesterday, he had hits in 10 of his last 11 games, hitting over 300 in that span with 3 home runs. But again, the Padres had him go 0 for 4 yesterday. Certainly a dangerous guy in the lineup. Cleaning up today for the Giants. Keep Chapman in check. That's key number 3. Key number 4. Joe Musgrove bouncing back against the Giants. It's been a very rough go for Joe against San Francisco the last couple of years. The 2 starts he's made against them this season, 10 earned runs allowed in 10 innings combined, including 4 home runs. But even last year, in his 1 start against the Giants, he gave up 7 earned runs in 3 innings and a third. Musgrove gave up 3 home runs in that lone start against San Francisco last season. So combined, in his last 3 starts against the Giants, an 11.48 ERA, with 7 home runs allowed. And here's part of what Joe has to deal with today. Lamont Wade Jr., 8 for 23 against him with a couple of home runs. Matt Chapman, 5 for 15 against him with a couple of home runs. Michael Conforto, 5 for 10 in his career against him with a home run. We'll have more on Joe in our next segment, but yeah, it's been tough against the Giants for him the last couple of seasons. He needs to turn that narrative around today. That's key number 4. And key number 5, Jackson Merrill, the 5-hole hitter. Jackson Merrill batting in the 5 spot in the Padres lineup today after collecting 3 hits last night. Remember, Merrill was just 1 for his last 18 entering yesterday's game. This will be Merrill's 3rd start in the 5 spot this season. He's done well from that number 5 spot. He's 4 for 7 from that position in the lineup with a home run. And by the way, Jackson Merrill set a Padres rookie record with 54 extra base hits in a season by hitting his 2 doubles last night. Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune wrote about this morning. Merrill is just the 25th rookie in Major League history to have at least 25 doubles, 6 triples, and 23 home runs. Among the other rookies to reach those numbers at age 21 or younger, Joe DiMaggio, Mike Trout, Frank Robinson, and Ted Williams. That's some pretty good company. So what does Jackson Merrill do out of the 5 spot in the lineup here today? That's key number 5, and that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back, we talk about Fernando Tatis Jr., something to keep an eye on with Fernando here tonight. Plus, we take a much deeper look at our pitching matchup between Joe Musgrove and Mason Black. First pitch coming up at 6:05 in San Francisco. Our pregame coverage continues after this. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit under 8 minutes. First pitch coming up at 6:05, Game 2 of this 3-game set in San Francisco. We'll break down our starting pitching matchup in a moment. First, let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in tonight's game. Can Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a home run in a 4th consecutive game? He's homered in 3 straight games, 7 RBI combined on those home runs. He's homered in 4 straight games, only once in his career. That was back in August of 2020. So can Fernando hit a home run in a 4th consecutive game for the 2nd time in his major league career? That's what to watch for in tonight's matchup. Now let's take a look at our starting pitching matchup between Joe Musgrove and Mason Black.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Joe Musgrove. The 31-year-old is 5-5, a 4.54 ERA, and 16 starts so far this season. 81 innings and a third, 78 strikeouts, 22 walks. His last start came against the Giants on Sunday. 4 innings and a third, 6 earned runs given up on 8 hits, and 3 home runs allowed. It was a weird outing for Joe. He retired the first 10 batters in a row. Then he gave up 7 consecutive hits, including 3 home runs to Matt Chapman, Gerard Encarnacion, and Luis Matos. Chapman and Encarnacion are both back in the lineup for the Giants here tonight, so pay attention to those matchups. Musgrove made another start against the Giants early in the year in San Diego. He gave up 4 earned runs on 8 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Joe was really, really good before that 1 inning since coming off the IL. Again, he retired the first 10 in a row in that start on Sunday against the Giants. In the 5 outings before that one, since returning from the IL, Musgrove was 2-0 with a 1.30 ERA. So, Joe, really aside from a span of like 7 batters, has been really, really good since coming off the IL. We'll see if he can bounce back here today. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Giants, right-hander Mason Black. The 24-year-old is 0-3, a 7.50 ERA in 6 outings, 24 innings, 31 hits given up. He struck out 22 and walked 8. His last start came against the Padres. He went 4 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs given up on 6 hits. He did allow a home run to Manny Machado in that last start. Black started the year at AAA. Then he got called up in May, posted an 8.97 ERA in 4 starts, then went back to AAA. Then he was called up a couple of weeks ago, made 1 start against the Marlins, 1 start against the Padres. Black is ranked as the 3rd best pitching prospect in the Giants system, according to MLB.com. He was the 3rd-round pick in 2021 from Lehigh University. And that's a full look at our starting pitching matchup here tonight. Joe Musgrove for San Diego and Mason Black on the mound for San Francisco. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Padres winning yesterday's game 5-0. We talked about it earlier with Tony Gwynn Jr. Padres did a great job yesterday getting out in front early. Luis Arraez, a leadoff single. Fernando Tatis Jr., a 2-run home run. And boom, just like that, they had a 2-0 lead. They never looked back. So we'll see if they can do the same, create a little breathing room, some cushion for Joe Musgrove before he even takes the mound here tonight. Padres enter today 83-65. The Giants are 72-75 coming in. They've lost 13 of their last 20 games. Padres entered today a half game ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks for the first wild card spot in the National League. The Padres also 4.5 games back entering today behind the Dodgers for first place in the National League West. Right now, the Braves are beating the Dodgers. The Brewers are beating the Diamondbacks. I'm sure Jesse and Tony will keep you up to the minute on those scores. Every score very, very important for the Padres right now. But the most important thing, the Padres taking care of their own business throughout the rest of the schedule and here tonight in San Francisco. When we come back, Jesse and Tony have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.